All right, a big day for the Seminoles, a really happy day for the Seminoles. The last 40 or so days have been quite challenging for FSU fans, but today we finally got good news, and we're not breaking it. Obviously, Mike Norvell agrees to a contract extension with Florida State to keep him here for the foreseeable future. It's really big news, and bigger news than just like being able to take a sigh of relief or take a deep breath and chill for a minute. It's big on so many levels, and we're going to talk about those, what this means, how it's impacting the NCAA stuff, how it's impacting, Alabama, the job at Florida State, how it's viewed, the resources that Mike Norvell will get. We're going to talk about all of it. So thank you for tuning in. Let's get right to it. The first thing that I want to say is don't let anyone tell you that Alabama didn't have serious Mike Norvell interest. There is a huge reason that Florida State's Mike Norvell was at the very top of the betting odds for the last couple of days when it comes to who would take over this Alabama job. The Alabama 247 guys reported it. The Alabama On 3 guys reported it. It was being reported by Brett McMurphy, Ross Dellinger, others in the national scene that Mike Norvell was a serious candidate of interest. And so don't let anyone tell you that he wasn't. In fact, Ross Dellinger tweeted after Mike Norvell re-upped his contract saying, Alabama heavily pursued Mike Norvell. FSU not only agreed to a new deal, but committed to substantial increases in resources such as recruiting budgets. The school is in the midst of a $450 million upgrade to the stadium and a football-only operations center. All eyes now on Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer, obviously the next Alabama head coach. Don't let people tell you that Mike Norvell was not a serious target. Alabama desperately wanted him. And I do think Dan Lanning was first. I think Steve Sarkisian's name was floated in there a little bit by Jimmy Sexton to try and get a contract negotiation done. The big thing to me is people will say, oh, well, they just did this because it was just Sexton trying to get a raise for his clients. It was just Jimmy Sexton, the big-time agent in college football, just trying to get a raise for his clients. And he got one for Lanning. He got one for Norvell. He got one for DeBoer when he goes to Alabama. He got one for Sarkisian. I don't necessarily believe that that's the truth. We talked about this. Florida State was already in the middle of a contract negotiation with Mike Norvell. He was already being paid $8+ million a year. And I don't necessarily know that this was massive leverage to get him way more. He was already making in the 8s, and now he's making around 10. And so I don't think that this is a deal that, Bama came open, so they renegotiated. They were going to renegotiate anyway. So the idea of, we need to get this done, I think this was going to happen one way or the other. When you look at what Mike Norvell has done over the last couple of seasons, winning 19 games in a row, only having 3 losses over the last 2 years outside of the UGA exhibition game. I think what Mike Norvell has done is certainly deserving of a raise, and I don't think it's all about the money. His contract was going to escalate anyway. It's about the additional concessions that I think are really important. What's also really important is what we told you when we did the video based on would Mike Norvell be the next coach at Alabama? Should Florida State fans be concerned? A lot of you were not concerned when we put that video out. And then between that next day and this morning when it was announced just before noon, you were concerned. You did have fear. I know it. I saw your tweets. I saw your messages on Discord. I saw all of it. But one thing we mentioned, and I'll ring the bell. I'll take a little credit for this because we did say it, but I didn't even know how true it would become, is I think that Mike Norvell is cut a little bit from that Bobby Bowden cloth. And just like Bobby Bowden 30 years ago turned down the job at Alabama, Mike Norvell absolutely did the same thing. Mike Norvell said, thanks, but no thanks. And that's huge, guys. I was on the radio this morning with JP Peterson here locally in Tampa, and he asked me about what I thought if Mike went to Alabama. And I said, listen, Mike would be going to a team who was legitimately worse than his team and had to do less, but got in to the playoffs over his team. Could you blame any coach in America for taking that job? And the answer is no. You absolutely couldn't. But some people that preach character and integrity and climb and loyalty and all of that actually do believe it. And Mike Norvell showed it today. I also think there's probably a conversation that could be had about the Bama job and what that job is without Nick Saban. But if you're not proud of anything else Mike Norvell has done, if you're not proud of the 19 wins, if you're not proud of the top 10 class, if you're not proud of the back-to-back-to-back elite portal classes, if you're not proud of any of that, if you're not proud of being 4-0 against the rivals over the last 2 years, if you're not proud of anything else, the fact that he turned down Alabama for Florida State means so much. It means a ton to me as a supporter and a booster, which I renewed and upped my booster membership today. You should go and do the same thing if you haven't already. Boosters.fsu.edu, free plug there. But it means a lot to me that he would turn down what many would consider one of the best jobs in the country to stay in Tallahassee. It also means a lot for this program. Imagine the recruiting pitch that it is now to say, hey, I turned down Alabama. Now you do the same thing. I noticed that one of his very first stops was a current Alabama commit, a 5-star wide receiver in the 2025 class. That's where he went after he signed his extension. That's pretty impressive. What do you think they talked about when he got over there to Jamie French's house? Pretty cool to see, and you'd hope that that is a positive spin and that is a positive sell in recruiting. Alabama wanted him. You were able to hold on. That's a massive deal. You also did a great job with this because of the timing of the information, the timing of the renewal. Number one, you did it before Alabama made a move. You were the ones that got to control the narrative. If you announce an extension after jhebbar is hired or announced as the hire, it's a position of weakness. It looks like, well, we extended you, but you weren't a serious candidate. By doing it before and basically letting Alabama know, like, no, we're not doing this. You're not taking him. You control the narrative. Number two, we talked a ton last night about the NCAA. You may have watched that video today with the allegations, the sanctions. This totally killed that story. The news cycle is only as good as the next story. And by signing Norvell to an extension, the NCAA story is gone. Who cares? We told you that most of those penalties don't matter. You may look at it as a blessing. I don't know that Florida State would go that far, but you do get to now keep Alex Atkins for probably the next 2 years. We'll see. But maybe have a little bit of a blessing there. A lot of people have been worried about Alex, one of the top assistants in the country, going on and becoming a head coach elsewhere. That may be a positive benefit from this. And you have Norvell locked up. You'll be able to retain whatever staff you want, which we've obviously had our thoughts on that. But the timing of this is perfect. I've got a little bit of a conspiracy theory on the timing of this, and I'll tell you about that in just a minute. But first, I want to give some love to Rapid SEO Host. Hey, we are going to do a giveaway for them. If you're a business owner, make sure that you stay tuned. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and locked in because we are going to do a giveaway with them. We've been telling you about them for a little bit over a month now, but they help your business show up in higher search engine results. They help your website show up faster and higher on Google. They will optimize your website to be lightning fast. If you're using one of the big hosting sites and you want to change, you want somebody who is a Nole just like you are to handle all of the transition, all of the hosting for you, as well as optimizing it for SEO, give my friends Rapid SEO Host a call today. You can go to rapidseohost.com. All of their contact information is in the description. Appreciate them for helping make this video possible. If you have a business, have a website, need hosting, give them a shout today. rapidseohost.com. All right, a little bit of a conspiracy theory here. I had been told about the NCAA sanctions, the violations, the issues that we had back in September of this year. I also was told this week that it would probably come to light this week. I was originally told like Friday or Monday. Obviously, information dropped on Thursday, and part of me thinks that that could have been somewhat strategic. Part of me thinks that there would be multiple reasons why you may want that news to drop. Now, the news was going to come out anyway, but is it possible that the news was leaked to get it to come out a little bit earlier. Why would you want that? Obviously, last night was not an enjoyable night for anybody. Last night was not an enjoyable night to be a Florida State fan on social media with tons of rivals, the national media, everyone kind of wondering what in the world was going on. I will say, shout out most of the national media who defended you and said that this is stupid. When we told you last night that those penalties were stupid, most of the national media agreed. So shout out to even the idiots that disagreed with you on the playoff. Shout out the ones who kept it real on the sanctions. But last night sucked. But did it possibly do two things? One, did it possibly cause Alabama to step back a little bit? Did it possibly cause Alabama to think, whoa, maybe we don't want to dive in head first? And I still think Mike Norvell was certainly a candidate and certainly wanted by the Crimson Tide, but did it make them pause for a sec? Did it make them lowball? Did it make them not offer as competitive a salary? Did it cause any of those things to happen? Did it cause any doubt to creep into Alabama's mind? Maybe, maybe not. Number two, if that news comes out hours after Norvell is announced, it is what dominates the news cycle, and it is what dominates the weekend. By that news coming out before, Norvell's extension crushes that story. No one's talking about the NCAA sanctions. No one's talking about the violations. Everyone already agrees with you that they're BS. Even your biggest haters on social media, even the people who wanted you and gladly left you out of the playoff, think that it's bogus. But then Mike Norvell is extended and boom, that story's gone. I don't know. That's my conspiracy here. I've talked with others about that. We'll see. Actually, we won't see. You'll never know one way or the other, but I think that tracks. And it's a great PR move by Florida State. I think it's a great PR move, one, because you announced the hire before, you announced the extension before the hire, right? You did this from a position of strength. You can use this as a recruiting advantage. Number two, you crushed the most negative news story that could have come out about you in the last 40 days, which, surprisingly, you had a lot to pick from the last 40 days. But shout out to Florida State here, because that's very, very well done. And whether they leaked it or not, whether it got out intentionally or not, it worked out very, very well for them. It's a little too coincidental for me to think that it wasn't leaked early, that there weren't some people pulling some strings, but that's my take. I'll say allegedly so I don't get in trouble, kind of like our last video. Bobby Dodd and Bear Bryant, two legends. Mike Norvell won both of those coaching awards, and it was crazy that Mike Norvell won the Bear Bryant Coach of the Year award this year on the same day that Nick Saban retired. And there was a ton of whataboutism that followed that. What if he goes to Alabama the day that he wins the original GOAT, Bear Bryant Coach of the Year award? Obviously, that doesn't happen, but things do, at this point, very much favor Mike Norvell. You have now given Florida State an absolute shield of certainty. People, even after going 13-0, even after winning 19 games in a row, people still questioned and people still doubted, is this program even there? Is this program something that is going to last? Because, man, if you can't win at 13-0, why even stay, Mike? If you can't win at 13-0, why even commit to this program, recruits? If you can't win at 13-0, why even give to the Battle's End or to the boosters? All of that just kind of got shut down. 100% of it. Why? Because Mike Norvell turned the best job opening that's come available in the last 17 years. Think about that. There has not been a job opening that's come around for 17 years that was as good as this one. And I'm not even saying the job was as good 17 years ago. I understand where Alabama was when Saban took him over. But there hasn't been a job like this come open in that long. And Mike Norvell, after getting snubbed, after going 13-0 and getting robbed, after all his players and all the culture bullcrap that we had to read about the Orange Bowl, after the underperforming signing day, after so much has happened, Mike Norvell still said, this is where I want to be. And I think that's a heck of a recruiting pitch. I think the additional resources for a recruiting budget are massive. We need to capitalize on those. Mike's not perfect. I love Mike Norvell, and I am so glad that he made this decision, and it was a weight off of my shoulders on a stressful day. But he can get better, and he certainly should realize that at this moment. And I think he will. I think the priorities are there. I know that we all have things we want to see improved. I know that we all have things that we want to see changed. Florida State's not done in the portal. They're still phenomenal there. There's some action that's going to happen in the portal this weekend, I believe. Join our Patreon if you haven't gotten access or info on that. I've already told those guys what's coming down the pike. But there's more portal action coming this weekend. And Mike Norvell needs to shore up a couple of things. But he just told the rest of the country that this program is for real. This program is not going anywhere. And it is a truly great day to be a Florida State fan and supporter. I appreciate, again, Rapid SEO Host for making this video possible. Thank you guys for tuning in. Celebrate down in the comments a little bit. Somebody asked me if I would be pouring something. I looked over there because my bourbon cabinet is over on that side. The answer tonight is yes. We will certainly pour something special. Put that on social media at some point. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for all the support and love. Go Noles.